Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back. So I'm trying something a little new today. I'm gonna try and do this screen record thing. Yeah, it's something new, and we'll have to see how it goes. If you see me looking off to the side, I have some notes ready for this video. But yeah, if you're seeing me look to the side, that's why. Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back. Recently, I came across this video by Jake Broe, who is a YouTuber who has a lot more subscribers than me. I started watching his channel because he made some great videos of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, which I highly recommend. But besides those videos, I can see on his channel that he actually has several videos talking about crypto. Now I got curious, you know me, whenever I see something regarding crypto, I gotta watch it, right? I watched his videos regarding crypto, and judging just from the latest few videos that he posted, I can tell, I think it's safe to say that he's not a huge fan of crypto, which is okay. So I don't want you guys to get the wrong idea. I highly respect Jake, and I'm subscribed to him. This video is not meant to start a fight or anything. But I do have to say I disagree with him on this topic of crypto. And I think it would be great for me to make a rebuttal of one of his videos and share my rebuttal publicly. I think it's a very important exercise to watch videos of people who you don't necessarily agree with, right? Because it's easy to get into this like echo chamber of only listening or watching videos or reading stuff of people that you agree with. But I think that's a bad idea in general. And it's a really bad idea when it comes to investing. So in this video, I'm going to summarize like his arguments in this video. We're going to watch the video together. And this video is titled Cryptocurrency is a Threat to Capitalism. I'm going to argue why the opposite is true, in my opinion, why crypto is, in fact, a gift to capitalism. I also, of course, recommend you give his channel a watch. So I'll put a link down below to this particular video if you want to just watch it without my commentary. Anyways, without further ado, let's jump into it.
You with the fact that cryptocurrency has forever changed the world of finance, especially the finance YouTuber
Let me
community. It
turn up the
seems like a
volume a bit.
majority of the content being created this day is about cryptocurrency. But even if you go with the mainstream news like CNBC, they're constantly talking about cryptocurrencies. So in this video, let's talk about it and let's do a thought experiment. Now, I'm not advocating that this is what's going to happen, but I'm arguing that this is a possibility and that it should be explored, that cryptocurrency is actually a huge threat to capitalism. And if you're a fan of capitalism like I am, then this should concern you. Now, maybe if you don't like capitalism, I still don't think this is going to play out the way that you would like. And first thing I want to say is that if you buy Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency, then I want for your investment to succeed. I don't want anybody to lose money. I'm not rooting for cryptocurrency to fail. I'm just trying to explore what consequences could come of its success. And full disclosure, I do not own any cryptocurrencies. I've never bought nor have plans to buy any cryptocurrencies. I'm waiting for additional information. And I made a video on.
It's great that he says he's waiting for additional information, right? Because you can tell he's not like one of those, you know, super anti crypto people that's just made up their mind, right? Like it's difficult to like get it's difficult to keep an open mind. So I'm glad that he at least is open to the idea of changing his mind potentially in the future.
On my channel because people keep commenting that they want me to talk about it about 3 months ago, saying, I do not buy Bitcoin, how Bitcoin could go to $0. And I made this video on February 21st, 2021, when Bitcoin was going parabolic. It hit $55,000 a coin. And I just remember saying in the video, guys, show me a graph of a stock or an asset or anything where it goes parabolic like this and it just keeps going up forever. There's going to be a pullback. The last time Bitcoin went parabolic here, you know, it's kind of like this fractal where you can zoom out and it's just going to keep repeating itself. So even if I wanted to buy Bitcoin, I knew at these prices after this extreme movement that this wasn't a good time. So let's check in on our favorite cryptos and see how they're doing. And the 1 month performance, Bitcoin is down 37%, Ethereum is down 13%, and Dogecoin is down 20%. And from their all time highs, they're down even more. Now, people will tell me in the comments section, they'll say, hey, Jake, this is a volatile asset. There's going to be fluctuations. It's going to go up and down. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to assume your premise is correct. We are going to, in this video, make the bull case. So if Bitcoin is going up forever, then it's an escalator. This is how I view cryptocurrency, basically. It's an escalator that I can get on at any time. If it only goes up in one direction forever, then it doesn't really matter when I start my trip on the escalator. Let's assume the premise is correct. The crypto bulls are correct. One Bitcoin is going to $1 million a coin. We're currently at the coin price being 36,000. So we're only 3.6% of the way there. So let's think about the return that crypto is going to give me over my lifetime if I were to buy it, and Bitcoin, for example, was going to $1 million a coin. So let's assume a time period of 20 years, and we're starting at the share price today of 36,000. Then Bitcoin's going to give me an annual return rate of 18.1% a year. Okay, that's pretty good. That's double what the stock market is. So what is my purchasing point? When do I want to buy into Bitcoin? I'm going to say $250,000 a coin. Now you're saying, Jake, why would you wait? You're going to be kicking yourself on all those gains. I don't really care. To me, for Bitcoin to prove itself, it's got to get to $250,000 a coin.
Okay, so he says that he's gonna have to wait until Bitcoin gets $250,000 per coin before he buys in. So, I find this that he just chose this point kind of arbitrarily, right? Like, why did he just chose 25%, assuming that $1 million is a target? Well, like some people say that, the target is more than 1 million, right? So if the target is 10 million, would he have to 10x that target too, right? So it's just it's kind of arbitrary that he chose that point. And what's the difference between buying it at $250,000 versus buying it today, right? Like, because as you can see, like on his video, like the difference looks very small, right? Well, let me ask you this: what's the difference between buying Amazon stock in 1999 versus buying Amazon stock now, right? Like no one's stopping you from buying or not buying Amazon stock now. But I think if we all had the choice, we would be buying Amazon stock back in 1999 if we knew what was going to happen, right? Now, he's making it sound like crypto people are saying that, oh, it's like for sure going to be a thing that Bitcoin hits $1 million, it's an escalator up. Well, no, that's not what we're saying, right? Like it's not an escalator straight up into the air. Like if it was, then investing would be so easy, right? Like everyone would be in crypto already, and everyone would just dump everything and just sell their house and dump all their money into Bitcoin. Well, obviously, that's not necessarily the case, right? Like Bitcoin has its up and downs, right? At the time he made this video, it was $36,000 per coin, and now it's actually lower than that. Now it's around 21K last time I checked, right? So, it's not an escalator up like straight into the air. Like maybe on a chart, it does look like that, but keep in mind when you're looking at charts that show Bitcoin just going like that, those charts are like, over the span of years and years, right? So that's what I have to say.
And I don't care because once it gets here, aren't I still on the escalator that only goes up forever? What is the opportunity cost when the thing is just going to keep going up forever over my life? This is what the crypto bulls are arguing. So if I get on the escalator when it's 25% of the way there, I'm still going to quadruple my money over my lifetime, doubling the average return of the stock market. So this is the thought experiment that I wanted to share with you guys, why I don't feel the FOMO, why I don't feel the urgency to buy today. When you're looking at a parabolic graph like this one, and
Okay, so before we move on to his next point, let me just add one more thing, right? I think there's a little bit of like a misunderstanding here because like $1 million when Bitcoin, if Bitcoin hits $1 million, it's not going to be worth $1 million now, right? Because of inflation, right? So things are going to be like worth differently. Like the dollar is going to be worth differently by the time it hits $1 million. So it's not like it's like, oh, I'm fine with like forexing my money. Well, like how about your purchasing power, right? Like it's harder to say because you don't know what the inflation rate is going to be from now until then. Let's say if it takes, I don't know, 10 years for Bitcoin to hit $1 million, then you don't know like how much $1 million then would be worth in terms of like 2022 dollars, right? So it's just one thing you got to keep in mind. So when you say, when Jake says, oh, I'm okay with just forexing my money, well, okay, maybe so, right? But in how much are you actually increasing in purchasing power? That is the big question.
And you're saying, oh my God, I got to buy it now. 99% of times, that's a recipe for disaster, and you're just going to lose money. So
So let me just rewind slightly. So he says, oh, like don't buy into the FOMO. And generally this is a good idea, right? Like you shouldn't buy into FOMO. You shouldn't buy something just because it's going up and everyone else is rushing in, right? That's generally how you lose money. That's correct, right? That's a bad idea to FOMO into something when it's going parabolic. But as we can tell, if you just look at a chart of Bitcoin, it goes through cycles, right? So the last cycle, as you can see, like in 2017, it went up like parabolically, right? There was this one time where it got to the end and it went up like really fast, right? And then it crashed back down. So if you bought somewhere on this parabolic curve in 2017, you would have felt like an idiot, right? It would be like, oh, I'm so dumb, I bought the peak, even if you're like one of the unlucky ones that bought the absolute peak, right? But with Bitcoin, it tends to come in cycles, and then the next cycle begins, and what do you know? It goes up higher than this, right? And then chances are it's gonna come back down, right, as it did, because I'm actually making this video like pretty much a year, more than a year after he made this video, so I have like a little bit of a advantage because I know what's going to happen in a year after he made this video, right? So it's going up exponentially now, and then it crashed back down now, right? But even now, at 21,000 is still slightly higher, just above where the peak was in 2017. So even if you had bought the peak in 2017, if you just held till now, you still would have made money.
now, 99% of times, that's a recipe for disaster, and you're just going to lose money. So let's get to the core of my argument for this video, in that the Bitcoin bulls are correct, and cryptocurrency is the future of all payment transactions, a decentralized currency, down with central banks, down with government regulation. People like Andre Geek and the Millennium Money crew are correct. Let's explore this crypto utopia and what could potentially happen. Now, obviously, this is not a thought experiment. I'm not telling you what will happen. I'm giving you a possibility. It's the year 2041, 20 years in the future. Bitcoin has hit $1 million a coin. What could be the fallout? What could the world look like? And I would argue this would be a golden age for hackers, for drug dealers, sex traffickers, kidnappers, blackmailers. I think there would be a lot of instability in the world from people trying to extort or exploit or rob other people of their crypto. Perfect example of this was recent, with the hacking of the Colonial Pipeline. Hackers have realized that if they can receive payments from corporations in crypto, it's untraceable. If you're
No, I gotta stop him right there. Okay, so Bitcoin is like the least untraceable currency out there, right? So in case, I think this is a misunderstanding of what crypto actually is or how Bitcoin actually works, right? So Bitcoin works through what's called an open ledger system or distributed open ledger system. What that means is that every transaction is open to the public. Like you can literally look up what's the latest Bitcoin transaction, and you can tell from which address to which address it was sent to and from, and for exactly how much Bitcoin it was. and at what time, and everything like that, and how much fees were paid for that transaction. Like all that information is public, and it is incredibly traceable, because in fact there are companies that actually their sole purpose of existence is to provide analytics or tracing transactions on the blockchain, right? So I think a lot of people who are not very technical, maybe they think, oh, like, Bitcoin and crypto, they're just magic internet money, and it's used by like these shady hackers on the dark web. Maybe at one point, like back then when it was like the Silk Road days of Bitcoin, it was like used by nerds to buy like illegal stuff, but that's no longer the case, right? That's like, 10 years ago. Right now, there's, whole industries of, technologies and payments and like, payment networks that are built on top of crypto rails. So it's actually very interesting that he brought up the Colonial Pipeline example, because I was actually going to bring up the exact same example, but argue it the other way, right? So I literally cannot make this up. So on June 8th, 2021, which is the same day that he published this video, literally on the exact same day. I didn't plan this. I'm not making this up. The Department of Justice of the United States actually recovered over $2 million worth of the Bitcoin that was paid as ransom by Colonial Pipeline to the hackers, right? So there was an update on this story on June 8th, actually. So they actually recovered it, and this was only possible because Bitcoin is traceable. It's incredibly traceable because Bitcoin, again, runs off of the open ledger system. So uh, think about it. If I was a criminal and I wanted to, conduct a crime or something, would I want to use US dollar cash, which, is like I can just hide anywhere, right? Or would I use like an open ledger system where whenever I send a transaction, it gets permanently recorded on an open ledger that's open to the public, where literally anyone can, including law enforcement, including like anyone, where literally everyone can see, right? So yeah, if the ransom was paid in US dollars, I think the money would be long gone by now. So contrary to popular belief, US dollars is actually the currency of choice for criminals, not Bitcoin or not some random cryptocurrency that's traceable, right? And to prove my point further, I will show you a chart that's put together by ARK Invest, which shows you the amount of illicit activity conducted with USD Cash, which is far greater than the amount of illicit activity conducted with Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. Okay, so that's that.
Demanding that money be wired, it's got to go through a bank. They're going to catch you. If you demand physical cash, this is hundreds of dollars to get billions. It's hundreds of dollars worth of bricks of cash that can be traced, and you've got to deposit it somewhere. Banks and
Okay, so that's like money laundering. He's talking about money laundering, right? You got to like deposit it somewhere. Well, like for a few $1 million, I think there's ways that career criminals would know how to launder like $1 million worth of cash, right? And contrary to popular belief, it's actually harder to launder Bitcoin because it's so traceable, and you can't escape the ledger system, right? Like you always got to be on this open ledger system, versus with cash, like who knows, right? You can just slip it into like random bank accounts and do all kinds of shady stuff, and it's much harder for law enforcement to catch that.
governments are going to fine you if you engage in illegal activity. But if we're living in this utopia future where people only accept and use payments in crypto, then I think nefarious actors. Why would you work an honest day's living when you can do one of these illicit activities and just get your crypto that way? The con
Okay, I think he's making it sound way too simple to be a hacker, right? Like he's making it sound like anyone can just make a living off of hacking like other people, right? Like you got to keep in mind it takes a fair bit of technical skill to be able to hack someone and like extort them for bitcoins and all that stuff, right? Because generally, like I know cybersecurity at like these pipeline companies or these industrial companies probably isn't the highest grade, but it's not like it's not nothing, right? So yeah, it's not a trivial matter to be able to hack someone and extort them for cryptocurrency. Just like it's not a trivial matter to rob a bank, right? Like it's like there's career criminals in both, the cyberspace and in real life, right? So you got to keep in mind, like it's not as simple as he's making it sound. That's what I'm trying to say.
Consequences on the economy would also be devastating as we would experience massive deflation. Cryptocurrency has replaced fiat money. Nobody wants to touch or deal or transact in fiat money anymore. So if Bitcoin or whatever is going up at a rate of 18% a year, that's the equivalent of us experiencing 18% deflation every year. Fine.
Okay, so I gotta push back on that as well. So first of all, I don't think it's fair to say that just because the price goes up on US dollar terms by 18% a year, that is causing 18% a year deflation, right? Because then you're assuming that the US dollar is always constant in value, which it isn't, because in case you're forgetting what's happening right now, inflation as measured by the CPI is at 9.1% year over year in June of 2022. So it's funny enough how he made this video in June of 2021 compared to June 2021. In June 2022, CPI has gone up 9.1%, and that's CPI, right? So I think a lot of people are of the opinion, including myself, that the CPI is not a true representation of inflation. Because if you actually go to the grocery store, I think you'll find that things have gone up way more than 9.1% year over year, right? Just the cost of everyday goods. So, I wouldn't be surprised if the real inflation is actually closer to 18% per year, which means that, if Bitcoin goes up 18% a year, then Bitcoin is actually the one that's staying constant, and that 0% inflation or deflation is just staying constant. And it's like the fiat that's going down, right? So I don't think it's fair to say that Bitcoin is deflating by if Bitcoin is causing like the economy to deflate by 18% a year. That's not correct.
Find me a country or an economy in the world that is experiencing any deflation and it's having a positive impact on their economy. The reason why central banks and governments aim for inflation at a rate of 1 to 2% a year is so there's an incentive to spend your money. If you have $100 and that $100 is only going to be worth 99 next year, you have an incentive to invest and to spend it to stimulate the economy. If everybody is just hoarding their crypto, their Bitcoin, because it's going to be worth more the next year, then nobody is spending money. If nobody is spending money, we're going to see massive declines in retail, in tourism, in every form of consumption. This would lead to massive rises in unemployment, shopping centers being even more hollowed out than they are now, companies failing as nobody is willing to spend their money because their money, their crypto, is only going to be worth more money next year. And it's
Okay, so I've heard of this idea being tossed around that inflation is somehow like just absolutely devastating, and no one's gonna ever spend money again if we encounter deflation, right? So this idea sounds like it makes sense at first, but if you think about it, it actually doesn't make any sense at all, because at the end of the day, you still have to eat. You still have a desire to go for a vacation, and you still have a desire to buy new things, right? So you have to depend on how much the deflation is. If it's deflating by like 50% a year or 100% a year, then obviously like that would be bad, right? Just like how if we had 50% inflation or 50 or 100% inflation, like that would be also bad. So you'd have to look at how much the deflation actually is. But I would argue that if you had a little bit of deflation, and by a little bit, I mean like, maybe 5% or less, it actually doesn't it doesn't like really matter, right? Because if you just think about like just tossing Bitcoin aside for a second, right? So just think about technology products, think about TVs or smartphones, right? So let's say if you needed a new phone, well then you're gonna like, are you gonna, wait a year until you buy a new phone when you actually need it? Just because, if you wait a year, the new model will come out, or even if a new model doesn't come out, they'll lower the price of the phone because, it's getting old, and it's like been in the pipeline for a long time, and they've made the assembly line more efficient and all that stuff, right? Like, no, you're gonna go out and buy the phone, right? Or most people, I would assume, maybe some people will wait a year and then try to save 5% of their money. But I think most people would just go out and buy the phone, even though that they know that the new one will eventually come out and they'll be able to save money or buy a better one with the same amount of money, or buy the model that's now old, but at a really steep discount, right? So I think that if you're waiting for to invest, or if you're waiting to buy something, you can always make the argument that you're gonna wait, right? So if deflation, maybe it helps out with, like, maybe it pushes you towards waiting a little bit more. But at the end of the day, if you really need a phone, you really need a phone. If you really need a computer, you're gonna go out and buy a computer. You're gonna be like, to hell with that 5% or something, right? I'm just gonna buy a computer now, even though I know it's gonna be cheaper in the future. So the idea that people will not spend money just because of deflation, that's crazy talk, right? In fact, it wasn't too long ago that savings accounts yielded higher than inflation. So you remember those days? I know those days are long past. It seems like they're long past now, but it actually wasn't that long ago. Okay, so it was within my living memory, right? So yeah, back then you could find savings accounts if you were in like US or Canada. I don't know about Europe, but if you're in US and Canada, you could find savings accounts with like 3 or 4% interest, while inflation was less than 1%, right? So if you think about those times, if you just put money in a savings account, you could actually increase your buying power, right? You could make a real yield just from not spending that money. But did that really stop people from investing? Did that really stop people from spending money? I think if you really think about it, the answer is no, right? So people are still gonna spend the money, right? So I think that yeah, it's just the whole idea of deflation, like just causing an economic collapse. That's not correct. Hey, what's up, you guys? So thank you for watching part one of the video. I realized as I was editing the video, as you can see, I just finished editing it, and yeah, I realized that it was like almost an hour long, so I had to split it into two parts. So if you're watching this, thank you for watching part one. Part two will be coming very shortly, so stick around for that.